The Sam Houston Bearkats come off a bye week to play against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, but they ultimately fell short on Wednesday night, 31-14. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna give our honest truths, analysis, and all that great stuff. It's Collin Neal, Luke Scott for Sam Houston Sports Talk. Luke, let's go ahead and just dive straight into it. I mean, nothing really much else to say. It's just fell short. You did have some things not go your way. Hunter Watson went out at halftime due to a sources say possible concussion, and it's just. I mean, if it's as bad as if it's as bad as we heard it is, then next week's going to be pretty interesting against FIU. But Luke, you and I were there. It was a pretty good first half. I mean, it was a very competitive first half. We were like really hunkering down for a second half, but then it's like Western Kentucky took control the rest of the way. Right after the teams came out of halftime.
Yeah, the first half was pretty good. I mean, coming into that first half, you and I, a lot of people, when we met up in the press box there at halftime, said, "Wow, this has been a really good game." Um, competitive, kind of back and forth there. Saw a lot of good things from both sides of the ball, really from both teams, right? And we were only down three there, going into the second half, but it just kind of ballooned after that, and um, it was weird because we all saw Watson go out and we saw him, go to the locker room, but we didn't really see why. Like, no, I didn't see um, a huge play, at least where I was in the field. I just didn't see it. Colin, did you? I don't think you saw it either.
I was getting told that that he went to the locker room, but I didn't think nothing of it. I figured it's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's just probably just going ahead, go to the locker room, probably needs to get patched up because, we've seen it before where, um, he came out of the locker room really late against New Mexico State, I believe it was, because at first I saw Bauer throwing, but then all of a sudden Watson comes out running out of the locker room, ready to go and finish the game. But yeah, then all of a sudden, all we saw was Bauer and Gunnell warming up, and then Bauer trot on out there, and it's like, okay, well, if this is the case for the rest of the game, let's see what what Bauer can do. And I mean, honestly, I think people were a little too hard on Bauer. You're a backup quarterback. Yeah, you're supposed to be ready for those kind of moments, but it's just hard when you're playing on and off throughout a season. Like you only play like a few drives every now and then. I think Bauer just had some rust, but I think it was just also the offense centers around Watson a lot, so
Yeah.
I I'm pretty sure the whole play calling changed. I'm sure they tried different things, and it just wasn't working. Western Kentucky has a really good defense, I will say, and Veltkamp and the offense took advantage. Bearcats couldn't get consistent pressure on him. Couple blown coverages, and like Keeler said, the execution wasn't the best it could be. And yeah, I think that kind of how it all boils down to. There's really nothing more to it. But WKU is a good team, and I said that they were a really good team going into that game, and they kind of just proved my point that they're really good.
Yeah, and the two, I mean, obviously you missed two field goals there, and
Yeah,
and one of our keys to the game was we had to be special on special teams to win this, and that's just not what you wanted out of it. It was probably Pavon's worst game,
three kick out of bounds.
um, with all the kicks out of bounds, the two missed field goals. It just kind of was one of those games where it just kind of ballooned up on you, and you missed a field goal there that would have tied the game, and
Yeah,
then instead, Western Kentucky responds back like 3 plays later, 4 plays later, and scores a touchdown, that huge 60 or 70-yard touchdown, whatever it was. Um, just a huge 10-point swing there, and it was just one of those games that you didn't get some of the bounces that you've been getting there in the past, and of course Watson going out, and Bauer coming in. Um, before the season, we were thinking Bauer was going to be the QB1 there. He was going to be the starter. You saw the reason why Hunter Watson was QB1 that night. We saw him. I mean, we that's just plain and simple. That's kind of boiled, but it boiled down to and um, those legs that we see Hunter Watson use. Bauer's a good runner, but he's not a Hunter Watson, and um, I don't know. It was just one of those nights that we just couldn't get out of our own way there in the second half.
Kind of a new thing we're going to introduce to these recap and preview pods. We would like to hear from the folks. We would like to hear from all the fans, all the Bearcats out there. Of course, in the future, we're going to be doing this a lot more, just hearing from y'all. But only one person responded this go around. This is something new that we're doing, so kind of expected. But Evan, or at Evan J Harper 22 on X, giving his thoughts on the game, he says seems the offensive line cannot pass block. Watson slash Bauer seemed unable to stand in the pocket and go through the reads. Only big pass plays came off screens or a predetermined throw. Our offense has become one dimensional. Luke, I want to get your thoughts on that, as you got a special guest. It seems like it's interrupting you a little bit, but Luke, what is
Sadie girls just want some attention right now. The dog wants attention.
uh, she hears us recording in front of for the millions
And millions.
of Sam Houston Sports Talk fans worldwide. But Luke, what do you think of what Evan said right there? Do you agree with him that the offense has became a little too much of a one dimensional offense?
Um, One dimension. I don't know. That first half, we actually threw the ball really well.
Yeah, I agree.
And I, you can pull up the stats, and numbers are numbers, right? It doesn't tell the whole picture there. But Hunter Watson had 128 yards, and two touchdowns, right?
6 for
A
9.
couple long catch and runs there, but um, I really liked what I saw out of Hunter Watson throwing the ball that first half, and it was giving Western Kentucky some issues. I think they definitely keyed in there on the run, and we just never really saw, a few good runs there from multiple backs, but we never really saw the giant 40-yard break a tackle run that we've seen, very recently from a Ducker, from DJ McKinney, even from Watson, right? We just didn't see that in um, some of those game-breaking plays that you got to make to win, a top matchup like this one. You just didn't make it. When you talk about one-dimensional, um, a few of the comments I've seen just on not on Twitter, but necessarily, but on some on Twitter, but like on Cat Fans, Instagram. It's like, yeah, well, whenever you run this quarterback this much, you risk an injury happening, and um, as much of a beating Hunter Watson's taken, it feels like, yeah, it was only a matter of time. And you hate saying that because you don't wish injury upon anyone, but he has taken some huge hits, and I just think he might have just taken one too many last night, or 2 nights ago. But I liked what I saw in the passing game. The O line definitely struggled a little bit more than we've seen.
Yeah, I think this was honestly, you could say the UCF game was the worst game, but this is by far Sam Houston's worst game overall performance this year. And we're gonna say how it is. We can only go by what we see, go by what we observe. I will say this, Luke. I think this loss effectively ends any chance Sam Houston had at getting us into the CFP. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely agree. We even needed a lot of things to kind of go our way.
Yeah.
Even
Oh
if
yeah.
we won that game, right? We would need, Boise State and UNLV to fall apart. We would need, of course, we'd have to beat Liberty twice, and we need to see both probably the military academies, um, kind of lose a few there. So that's just a few right off the bat. I'm sure there's more, but the good news is there's still an outside chance um, for a Conference USA championship game appearance, hopefully. That's still definitely possible. Lots of game to be left to be played, but I think the CFP is out of the picture now, Colin.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree though as well that the the Conference USA championship is still on the Bearcats' minds. It's we said this year the goal this year was to get into a bowl game. Here's the
Mm.
thing though, Luke. They're one win away, and they've only lost 2 games this year, so they're already they should get a bowl game. Like I read some stupid comment about how this guy hopes that we lose the rest of our games. I'm like, well, I hate to say it, but no. But first of all, I just want kind of go on a little rant a little bit, but it's so stupid that gamblers that gamble on games get mad when they lose their money and then go harass the players directly. It is so hilariously ironic. I saw it seems like some Bearcat players were dealing with that, and I just think that's totally ridiculous. And you know, I kind of had a bit of I wanted to go on my personal account and just reply to them the gambler hotline because sounds like they really need it.
Well, I mean, desperate people do desperate things, Colin.
Yeah.
If you want to go attack the players, attack the players. But hey, who made the bet, right?
Yeah, you knew the risk, but of course, if we're not against gambling or anything, you do it responsibly and legally and all that good stuff. But it's very loser mentality to go after the players just for you losing the money that you knew you could possibly lose. But that's my rant over it.
The big thing there is though, is that your people are betting on college kids. Of course, an 18 through 23-year-old, however old the oldest person is in college football, um, right? I mean, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to play that. They're not pros. So as much as you hope so, they're just not.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's that little thing I wanted to get out of the way because I saw that quite a lot. Um, Kind of some good things though. There were a lot of good things. Simeon Evans, he was starting in a place of Noah Smith, who was a scratch. He was in street clothes before the game. But Simeon Evans again, look every time it seems like the ball gets into his hands, he can just do a lot of things. He had that touchdown on that wide receiver screen where he broke a tackle and then he was gone. Evans has been I was saying how Evans was going to be a key part of the receiving core, and he's really become just more than a key piece. He's become quite a staple in the receiving game.
Yeah, and it's kind of easy to lose them. Um, just not lose them, but not think about them. Kind of what we've seen all year with obviously the production offensively uh, from the ground with the running backs. Obviously, Hunter Watson running the ball, but you also have Ife Dayu, who's been here forever, right? Who's made huge catches, national championship winning, the moment catch. And he was one that made it. Quavez has been, awesome, really fun to watch. He's kind of been a guy that's gotten lost, in a crowd of playmakers. But it seems like, every time, friend of the program, by the way, every time Seaman Evans gets the ball, he makes a play with it, right? And he's finding a way to squeak out extra yards, huge catches, third downs, touchdowns. I like seeing him get the ball. And it's not that Noah Smith hasn't done well this year. He just hasn't seen the ball enough, I think. Um, a lot of us would like to have hopes, before, but he's been great. I mean, Simeon Evans has been a great player. He really stepped up last year, towards the end of the year. We really saw more of him there. I mean, remember, he was a quarterback, coming here, right? And making that transition to receiver later in the year. We saw him last year, and now you've really seen him step up.
Yeah, and also he got the most of the targets too. 7 targets. The next nearest one was Quavez Humphreys at 5, and Quavez was had a very quiet game, very uncharacteristic. Um, Sometimes, Luke, I do wish I see a lot more balls go to him, like those 50-50 balls, because I feel like he's the kind of guy that you would feel really good about throwing up in the air on some sort of streak or fade route, whatever. Like I would feel very confident to throw a 50-50 ball to Quavez Humphreys, but we haven't really seen that quite a lot this year.
Well, it comes in spurts. It's like on a game by game basis.
Yeah,
I mean, it feels like when the offense, and I don't know if it's a scheme thing. I don't know if it's just,
Yeah, and it could
maybe it's
be.
just,
It could be. Then I mean, I'm honestly just saying it because I personally feel like it. I'm not saying they should because I'm not a play caller. I will probably never ever be a play caller in FBS football. That's just something I observe, and I mean, you are right.
well,
So
I- that's why I say it could be a scheme thing, but it's also a take what the given defense gives you. If you want to double cover, like put a safety over the top and keep a guy on Quavez, if that's what they give you, that's what they give you. You have to go somewhere else. Um, we saw Simeon Evans make some plays there, and Michael Phoenix, the second, really make some plays. But
great
you'd hope
touchdown.
to see Quavez get a little bit more production there. I mean, he's just too good of a player to really only have one catch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you said it. You said the name though. Michael Phoenix second. He's come alive as well. Another highlight reel touchdown. Really crazy touchdown. Great, great celebration. Ian hitting the sweet Selly, Cristiano Ronaldo. But I've really liked seeing him getting more involved in the passing game too. I've always been a guy that's been like, hey, we need to get him a bit more involved. The Kilgore College transfer, he had let's see, 2 catches, 56 yards, a touchdown. Had the longest play of the game for the Bearkats, that 50-yard touchdown, um, which was a real. But that touchdown honestly doesn't happen at first if Watson doesn't place that ball in a really good spot. One of your first words you said after that touchdown, great throw.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, it was um, across the field, outside the numbers, opposite hash mark, and he put it on him. I mean, he absolutely did, and credit to the receiver there with Michael. Make a couple guys miss, and he got to the end zone. Those were the plays that you had in the first half and just couldn't get in the second half. And um, it was a good catch. I mean, it's about all I got there.
Looking at the Conference USA standings real quick, Sam Houston after the loss are now in fourth place. Liberty obviously in first at 3-0. Western Kentucky 3-0 at second, and Jack State at 2-0 in third place. They are on a bye week, I believe. I could be very wrong on that. Yeah, no, they're not on a bye week. They shouldn't be on the bye week, right? Uh, no, I don't know. I think they are on a bye week. Jack State is along with Liberty. We mentioned it. I forgot who I mentioned this to, but the Conference USA has obviously become a 4 team race. I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected this to be a 4 team race. It's been quietly it was Steve I mentioned this to. Steve Helwig, I believe I mentioned this too, but Conference USA is a 4 team race, Luke. I mean, not. I mean, obviously you have the other teams that could potentially go on a run, but Conference USA is sneakingly an exciting title run for the conference.
It is, and of course, Sam Houston. Um, we've been right in the mix there. Western Kentucky obviously has picked it up now, but the weird thing is Liberty. Everyone seems pretty down on Liberty right now. Just because they haven't played their best game, and uh, you see online, you see in the Liberty fan base. I'm sure people listen to us from the Liberty side of things. Know a few people over there. They'll admit it too. They have not looked as impressive as they should. Right, returning multiple All Americans, All Conference guys, and just haven't put up a great product on the field. And Jacksonville State now, Colin now kind of emerging here mid-season. They've started to put it together, and you can really see it go any ways. When we lost, Wednesday, after the game, I was like, wow, that might have been, you know, might be us kissing the conference championship game goodbye right there, losing that one just because. I mean, you have to run the table from now on.
Yeah, if you want a chance, you're gonna have to win out, especially, and that's including two more games against two of the top three teams in Jack State and Liberty. I mean, Sam Houston though, they honestly next week's gonna be a tough match. They go to Miami against FIU on Vice Night in Pitbull Stadium. It's going to be tough. FIU's coming off of a bad loss to the UTEP Miners, which, I'll say it. Good for UTEP. I feel like they needed something like that. Good for Scotty Walden getting his first win as a UTEP coach.
Yeah.
I know we're rivals, but in game recognized game, it's like
First win since beating us last year, UTEP.
yeah, nearly a year, nearly a whole calendar year. But yeah, either way, Luke, just before we end this pod, just let's kind of want to hear your thoughts before Keeler's press conference, which is going to be by the time we release this pod later on today, or in this case Friday, because they have to hold a press conference early because they're going to travel out Monday. But just kind of your pre-FIU thoughts, real quick.
Yeah. Obviously, FIU actually had some quarterbacks go down
Mm-hmm.
against UTEP, the starter and backup. We don't know the condition just yet, I think, out of either one. I believe the starter, I'm blanking on his name. I can look it up real quick.
Jenkins.
I believe, say that again,
It's Jenkins, I believe.
Jenkins. I believe, I think they said that he had a concussion on the broadcast. I don't know yet. Um, I think that's just what they said. But FIU had to play their third string quarterback there with about 5 minutes to go when they had a drive to try to score and seal the game up. And instead, um, obviously they lost there. But it'll be interesting to see if kind of what Keeler thinks about that entire situation. It could be the battle of the backups with Bauer and whoever FIU trots out there. Um, obviously they lost last year against FIU. Another one of those overtime losses, a huge revenge spot for Sam Houston. And FIU is going to be coming off a loss against UTEP. No one wants to lose against UTEP, especially now that they're leaving. Kind of just a bad situation for everyone if you lose to UTEP there. So I think it's going to be two hungry teams ready to try to bounce back. And um, we'll see if FIU can play spoiler. I want to see really what Keeler talks about with some of these blown coverages that we saw the Sam Houston defense this year or this past game.
Reading the recap from that FIU UTEP game, starter Keon Jenkins did not play in the second half after he injured his shoulder late in the first quarter trying to tackle the UTEP linebacker Dorian Hopkins on the long interception return. Jones came in. It's not saying anything, but third string quarterback came in. I think the second string quarterback in the second string quarterback in Jones, probably because I swear we saw him on the ground. It didn't look too good. Then we saw the third string come out. So now you got an interesting dynamic for Sam Houston. Because
Yeah,
Jenkins is not a bad quarterback. He's not that bad. He beat us last year. He beat Sam Houston last year. So thing is though, it's Vice night. They're gonna come out with the Lambo. Pitbull's gonna be there. It's gonna be a party. I will say this though. A Texas team last year visited them on Vice Night, UTEP, and UTEP whooped them. But here's the thing, and another thing, Luke, both teams are going to be angry because FIU's coming off of that bad UTEP loss against one of the only winless teams in the country, and Sam Houston is coming off of this bad loss against Western Kentucky. And granted, again, like I said, there were a lot of factors into it, but a loss is a loss at the end of the day. I feel like Sam Houston is angry about that, and I think they want to take out their anger on somebody, and I think they would. It would honestly be such a big morale boost to go to FIU on Vice Night with people there, and just go in there and just crash the party.
it would be. It'd be good. The thing about it is, I believe. Um, Pitbull's got a big week because NASCAR is coming to town. I believe in at Homestead here pretty soon in the playoffs. So he's got some investments there. So he's going to be kind of all over the place. But yeah, it's a must win.
Yeah, it is. We're
I
not.
I will say I will say this though. I'd like to see a really just more orchestrated, balanced game from the offense here coming up in this next game. Um, we've seen the run work really well, and then we saw that passing game in the first half, really start to get going, and it feels like we might have almost eclipsed of what we've seen, and then the injury happened. I'm just kind of hoping, we get back to kind of what we do there, and run the ball really well. We just didn't see much of Ducker and McKinney.
No, we didn't. Only 6 carries for Ducker. Kind of forgot to mention that. Hopefully, there's nothing going on with him. I mean, the offense still got 165 net rush yards on the ground, so it wasn't like a bad night to say the least. But if you're a
It's
team that centers
it's not
around,
the 250 plus that we've seen the
yeah,
past, 4 or 5
exactly,
games.
yeah, exactly. So I think at the end of the day, I think Sam Houston just also got a piece of humble pie. You know, this was Sam Houston was one of the hottest teams in the country. You know, based off of how they've been performing, and they trended quite a bit heading up into that game. And at the end of the day, you lost. That, by the way, though, is now only one game on national TV that Sam Houston has, you know, won, and that was against UTEP 2 weeks ago. Did not win any of
Since
those.
becoming an FBS.
Yeah, yeah. Since becoming FBS, they have only won once on national television. But hopefully they can change it over the next 3 weeks because they're gonna be on, or the next 2 weeks rather, because they're gonna be on ESPNU 2 weeks in a row. FIU then back home against Louisiana Tech. That will do it for us here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. That's Luke Scott. I'm Collin Neal saying so long for now. Your Bearcats will be back next week on Tuesday. Look out for the preview pod for Sam Houston Bearcats versus the FIU Panthers. As always, eat 'em up, cats.
Eat 'em up, cats.